Lesson 4.6a, Absolute Value Equations and Inequalities. Since we're only doing half a lesson, I'm going to talk about our objective today is to solve equations that involve absolute values. The rules that we are going to be working with today are solving absolute value equations. To solve an equation in the form absolute value of A equals B, where A represents a variable expression and B is a number that is greater than 0. We are going to solve where A equals B and A equals negative B. So you're going to have two equations that we're going to work off of today in one problem. So we're going to solve each equation on example 1, and if there's no solution, write no solution. A no solution means that the absolute value, which is all by itself, equals a negative number. An absolute value of any number can never be a negative answer. So let's try A. So we have the absolute value of x plus 5 equals 11. So the first step before we could take off an absolute value is get the absolute value all by itself. So I'm going to subtract 5 like we do normal equations and get the value by itself. So we have the absolute value of x equals 6. Now, to figure out what x equals, we need to figure out what number that is how far away from 0 is 6. So the answers would be negative 6 and 6, because the absolute value of negative 6 is 6 and the absolute value of 6 is 6. Another way to answer this is by saying x equals positive or negative 6. Both of these answers mean the same thing. Let's look at B. I need to get the absolute value by myself before I can do any problems, so I'm going to add 2 to both sides. And so negative 1 plus 2, again they're opposite signs, so you're going to subtract and it would be 1. And how far away is something from 0? 1 away from 0. We have t equals positive or negative 1. C, the next one, absolute value again is not by itself, so we need to get it by itself. So I'm going to divide by negative 3. So I have the absolute value of n equals negative 5. If you look up at the top again, you have no solution means the absolute value variable equals a negative. Well, if I look at it, the absolute value of n equals a negative 5. Well, again, absolute value cannot equal negative, so it would be no solution. D. Now you have more than one step to this to get the absolute value by itself. It's like our normal equations we've done for a while now. So we first are going to add 2 to both sides of the equation. So it's going to be 6 equals 3 absolute value of w. And then I'm going to divide by 3. So the absolute value of w would equal 2. Well, what two numbers are 2 away from 0? Well, that would be a positive and a negative 2. Example 2. Solve each equation. If there is no solution, write no solution. It's the same idea as we did before, but this time it's a little different. Notice there is more than just the variable inside of the equation, inside the absolute value. So first of all, to have this work better, you need to make two different equations to answer the question. So you're going to have the you're going to take the absolute value signs away, and it's going to go 2p plus 5 equals 11. That's one equation. And the second equation is going to be 2p plus 5 equals negative 11. Because remember, an absolute value you can have when you're finished with it is going to have a positive and a negative answer. The problem is if you have a 0, then you won't have a positive and negative answer. Or no solution. But since 11 is a positive number, we don't have to worry about it. So again, we're going to do step by step. So I'm going to subtract 5 on this one. So it's going to be 2p equals 6. Then I'm going to divide by 2. So p is going to equal 3. That's one answer. The second answer, we have to do the same thing. We're going to subtract 5 to both sides. The difference is it was 11 minus 5 on the first one. This time it's negative 11 minus 5. Remember, they're both negative, so you're going to add them together. So it's going to be negative 16. So it's 2p equals negative 16. And then we're going to divide by 2. So p equals negative 8. So you can leave it like this, or you can go p equals 3 and negative 8 for your answer. I don't care how you do that. Next one. Again, you have an absolute value equals a positive number, which that number is 6. So you can make your two sets of equations. Remember to take off the absolute value sign. So it's going to be c minus 2 equals 6. And c minus 2 equals negative 6. Then I'm going to add 2 to both sides of the first equation. And so your answer will be c equals 8. That's your first answer. Then I'm going to add 2 to both sides on this one. And that one will be c equals negative 4. Remember, this is negative 6 plus 2. They're opposite signs, so you subtract them. And so you can have your answers. Either way will work. Then C. I have the absolute value equals a negative number. Well, again, we have to discuss this. When an absolute value equals a negative number, it is a no solution. So you're going to put no solution. There's your answer. That's all you needed for that one. D. The absolute value is already by itself, so we're going to, and it equals a positive number, so we're going to make two sets of equations. So you have 7d equals 14, and 7d equals negative 14. Then you're going to divide by 7. So d equals 2. Divide by 7 here. And d equals negative 2. So again, you can put d equals, they're both positive and negative of the same number, so you can do it like this. All right, that's the first sets of problems. I'm going to do one more problem with you. I'm going to add my own problem. Hopefully you have some room. And I'm going to make this an E over on the side. And I'm going to make this negative 2, absolute value of 7d equals negative 14. And as you can see, the absolute value is not by itself yet. So to get rid of the negative 2, it's multiplying to absolute value, so we're going to divide negative 2 to both sides. And so I have the absolute value of 7d equals 7. Now the absolute value is by itself and it equals a positive. So we can make two sets of problems going here. So equations, so you're going to have 7d equals 7 and 7d equals negative 7. You're going to divide by 7 to both sides on the first one, which would be positive 1. And on the second one, you're going to divide by 7. And so it's going to be d equals negative 1. So you can either have them together, but notice they're both the same number, so you can go positive, negative 1 if you want to. Remember to show your work. Talk to you later. Bye.